Namaste. I am Dr. Rinki Jadwani, Adjunct Faculty in Delhi Technological University. I welcome you all to this lecture titled Euthanasia Introduction. This lecture will help learners to understand the concepts of. With this, we will be defining what is euthanasia, the origin and history of the act or practice of euthanasia, and along with this, we will also discuss what are the different types of euthanasia. We will start with the historical background of using this term euthanasia, and starting with the historical background, we will start with the Hippocratic Oath. As we all know, the Hippocratic Oath is the earliest expression of medical ethics in the Western world. And this name, the Hippocratic Oath, is derived from a Greek physician, Hippocrates, who was widely regarded as the father of Western medicine. The oath states the professional conduct and obligations of doctors. It is an oath that emphasizes the importance of ethical and professional standards in medicine. The Hippocratic Oath forbade the physicians from participating in any such acts that would lead to assisting someone's death. In other words, we can say it denounced mercy killing, and instead it encouraged the physicians to take care of the patients. The original oath states, and I quote, "To please no one will I prescribe a deadly drug, nor give advice which may cause his death. Accordingly, a doctor's duty is to relieve the pain of his patient on the one hand and protect and prolong his life on the other." Secondly, if we look at gentle death or suicide from religious perspective, then we find that all religions have denounced suicide because life is considered to be a gift from God. If we look at the views of different religions, Christianity considered life to be a gift from God, and any efforts on our part to end that existence, whether through suicide or assisted means, was considered to be a shameful act. This thought also found resonance in Hinduism and Buddhism. Islam and Sikhism also reject the idea of suicide or assisted death. Most of the religions believe that human life is sacred and it is given to us by God. So, only God has the right to take it away. Now, if we talk about the Greeks and Romans, so the ancient Greeks and Romans did not think that all human life had an inherent value. When they were faced with hopeless circumstances, they thought it is better to end their lives. In ancient Rome, suicide was permitted except for slaves, criminals, and soldiers. The Roman philosopher Seneca asserted that the right to choose suicide is an individual's decision and his right. Medieval scholars like St. Augustine, Duns Scotus, and St. Thomas Aquinas, all of these medieval scholars denounced the concept of suicide. As the influence of Christianity increased during the Middle Ages, the physicians began to develop a moral obligation to care for the patients. This term euthanasia has also been connected with the Nazi concentration camps. The Nazi German effort, which was framed as a euthanasia program to kill the incurably ill, physically or mentally disabled, emotionally distraught, and elderly people. Adolf Hitler initiated the program in 1939, and while it was officially disconnected in 1941, killings continued covertly until the military defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945. The word euthanasia was first used in a medical context by Francis Bacon in the 17th century to refer to an easy, painless, happy death, during which it was a physician's responsibility to alleviate the physical sufferings of the body. He was the first in history to use this word after the Roman historian Suetonius in its etymological meaning. It is only from late 19th century to date that euthanasia has been used as signifying mercy killing or medically assisted suicide. Now, when we come to define this word euthanasia, so what is the meaning of this term euthanasia? What do we understand? How we define this term or act or practice of euthanasia? So the word euthanasia is derived from the Greek words which means well and death. So it means a good death. Euthanasia refers to the act or practice of ending a life of a person to end their suffering, usually from an incurable or terminal illness. It is for this reason that this act or practice of euthanasia is also termed as mercy killing. Now we will be discussing about the types of euthanasia. So there are different categorization of euthanasia. In the first categorization, there are two types of euthanasia. The one is active euthanasia and the second is passive euthanasia. Active euthanasia refers to the deliberate act such as the administration of lethal drugs to end the life of patient. Secondly, passive euthanasia refers to the act of withholding or withdrawing life by prolonging treatment or discontinuing such treatment. So we can say that active euthanasia involves direct killing of a patient, and on the other hand, passive euthanasia refers to letting die a patient. Active euthanasia, which is also termed as direct killing, involves specific actions such as lethal drugs or injections intended to bring about death. It means a positive, merciful act to end useless suffering and a meaningless existence. This act is performed by giving large doses of a drug to hasten death. Passive euthanasia, on the other hand, includes methods like disconnecting a feeding tube, not carrying out a life-extending operation, or not giving life-extending drugs, etc. Therefore, the extubation, which is also called removal from a ventilator of an incurably ill patient, though a physical action with subsequent death, is not considered as killing in its proper meaning. The extubation does not produce the effect of death, it only influences the time of its occurrence. But Daniel Callahan has aptly illustrated this difference of causality. He says, the lethal injection kills both the ill as well as the healthy person, whereas the discontinuation of life-sustaining treatment, however, only causes the death of the mortally ill, whereas on the healthy, it would have no effect at all. The other categorization of euthanasia involves three types of euthanasia, and in that categorization, the first one is voluntary euthanasia. So, voluntary euthanasia is when the euthanasia is practiced with the expressed desire and consent of a person concerned. It is performed at the request of the patient. This includes refusing the medical treatment, asking for medical treatment to be stopped, asking for life support to be switched off. Second is involuntary euthanasia. Involuntary euthanasia occurs when no consent or wish to die is expressed by the patient or sufferer. When the act of euthanasia is performed against the will of the person, this may include a limited supply of organs for transplant or drugs being too costly and other reasons. The third type in this categorization is non-voluntary euthanasia, it occurs when the patient is incapable of giving his/her consent, or the person cannot make a decision or cannot make their wishes known. This may include patients in a state of coma, child and infant patients, severely brain damaged patients, and cases of extreme senile dementia, those who cannot communicate for other reasons. There is another type of euthanasia which is termed as double effect. It comes under indirect euthanasia. So, double effect states that if doing something morally good has a morally bad side effect, it is ethically permissible to do it, provided the bad side effect was not intended. This is true even if one saw that the bad effect would probably happen. There are some factors which are involved in the doctrine of double effect. These factors are: first, the good result must be achieved independently of the bad result. In other words, bad result cannot be the means to achieve the good result. Second, the action must be proportional to the cause. In other words, the action must yield a good result. Thirdly, the action must be appropriate so far as giving the right medicine to the patient is concerned. There are, however, some difficulties with this doctrine of double effect. Some arguments are given against it, and these arguments are: it is said that death is not always bad, so double effect is irrelevant. Secondly, double effect can produce an unexpected moral result, namely, the doctor who hastens the death of a patient is a better doctor than the one who only wants to treat or relieve the pain of the patient. Thirdly, we are responsible for all effects or consequences that may come out of our actions. We cannot just choose the effects that suit us. Now, coming to the next topic, which is related to the law, in which countries this act or practice is legalized, and in which countries this practice is not legalized. So, laws around the world vary greatly with regard to euthanasia and are constantly subject to change as cultural values shift and better palliative care or treatments become available. It is legal in some nations, while in others it may be criminalized. In some countries, there is a divisive public controversy over the moral, ethical, and legal issues of euthanasia. Those nations who are against euthanasia argue for the sanctity of life, while proponents of euthanasia emphasize alleviating suffering and preserving bodily integrity, self-determination, and personal autonomy. The law on euthanasia in India distinguishes between active and passive euthanasia. Forms of active euthanasia, including the administration of lethal compounds, are still illegal in India. Passive euthanasia has been legal in India, but in a limited set of circumstances. If we talk about allowing euthanasia so Netherlands was the first country to allow euthanasia, and Belgium was the second country to legalize the practice of euthanasia. It is also allowed in some states of USA, but in most of the parts in USA, it has been legal for terminally ill, mentally competent adults to have an assisted death since 1997. It is legal also in Washington and California. If we talk about active euthanasia, so active euthanasia is legal in countries like Belgium, Canada, Colombia, Ecuador, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and Spain. In this lecture, in summary, we can say that we brought some of the important discussion on the meaning of euthanasia, what is the historical background of using this practice or act of euthanasia, and what are the different types or categories of euthanasia. I hope this lecture would be helpful in understanding these above mentioned topics. Thank you.